Ohio! Welcome to a stream. Can you hear the ambient noise? I tried to put some ambient noise for you. Okay, good. You can hear the fireplace. Alright. Turn on my lights. We're fine. Ignore the fact that I just dropped a bunch of things. That's fine. Sounds like their room is burning down. Hold on, I'll zoom out for you. Clearly you cannot see. Clearly you cannot see the fireplace. There you go. What are you talking about? This is just a fireplace. It's not burning down, it's just comfy. I'm trying to make this a comfy experience for you. Listen, we don't have to have the ambient sound. We don't have to have it. I just wanted to give you a good... a good experience. Okay. Okay, are you ready for story time? Get comfy, all tucked in. You're in bed. I have 4 stories. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 stories. Ready. And they're all old stories in which we can read for free. Because they're public domain. Okay, you ready? Okay. Guzo. This one is... 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. The author is Clement Clark Moore. Clement Clark Moore is a biblical scholar. He was a professor of Asian and Greek literature at the Episcopal General Theological Seminar, erected in New York City, on land that he donated. He is remembered for his well-known poem, A Visit from St. Nicholas, which begins towards the night before Christmas, and it was first published anonymously in the Troy Sentinel in 1823. Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the night not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon will be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plum danced in their heads. And Mamma in her kerchief and I in my cap had settled down for a long winter's nap. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprung from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters and threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave the luster of midday to objects below, when what in my wondering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeers. With the little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be Saint Nick. More rapid than eagles his courser they came, he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donner and Blitzen. To the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, now dash away, dash away, dash away all. As dry leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they met with an obstacle mount to the sky. So up to the housetop the coursers they flew, the sleigh full of toys and St. Nicholas too. And then, in a twinkling, I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof. As I drew in my mind and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed in all fur from head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back. He looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples. How merry, his cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bowl, and the beard of his chin was white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, the smoke it encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself. A wink of his eye, and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work, and filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk, and laying his finger aside of his nose, and gave a nod, up the chimney he rose. He sprung to his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim ere he drove out of sight, "Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night." Did I just wink with the eye patch on? Yes. You got a problem with that? You got a problem with my storytelling? Huh? You wanna fight? This is what I get. Alright. Let's read another one. Next one is The Little Match Girl. It's Christmas. It's a sad Christmas. Okay. This one is a translation of Hans Christian Andersen's Little Match Girl. And originally in German. This one was specifically translated by Jean Herscholtz, and it's free on the Anderson Center website. Wait, Danish. It was Danish first. My bad. Wow. Oh, it was originally translated from Danish. I'm kind of dumb. Okay, we're fine. We're fine. I need to zoom in because my eyes are bad. Control plus. Okay. It was so terribly cold. Snow was falling, and it was almost dark. Evening came on, the last evening of the year. In the cold and gloom, a poor little girl, bareheaded and barefoot, was walking through the streets. Of course, when she had left her house, she'd had slippers on. But what good had they been? They were very big slippers, way too big for her, for they belonged to her mother. The little girl had lost them running across the road, where two carriages had rattled by terribly fast. One slipper she had not been able to find again, and a boy had run off with the other, saying he could use it very well as a cradle some day, when he had children of his own. And so the little girl walked on her naked feet, which were quite red and blue with the cold. In an old apron she carried several packages of matches, and she held a box of them in her hand. No one had bought any from her all day long, and no one had given her a cent. Shivering with cold and hunger, she crept along. Picture of misery, poor little girl. The snowflakes fell on her long, fair hair, which hung in pretty curls over her neck. And all the window lights were shining. There were a wonderful smell of roast goose, for it was New Year's Eve. Yes, she thought of that. In a corner formed by two houses, one of which projected further out into the street than the other, she sat down and drew up her little feet under her. She was getting colder and colder, but did not dare go home, for she had sold no matches, nor earned a single cent, and her father would surely beat her. Besides, it was cold at home, for they had nothing over them but a roof through which the wind whistled, even though the biggest cracks had been stuffed with straw and rags. Her hands were almost dead with cold. Oh, how much one little match might warm her. If she could only take one from the box and rub it against the wall and warm her hands. She drew one out. Ratch! How it sputtered and burned, and made a warm, bright flame, like a little candle, as she held her hands over it. But it gave a strange light. It really seemed to the little girl as if she were sitting before a great iron stove with shining brass knobs and a brass cover. How wonderfully the fire burned. How comfortable it was. The youngster stretched out her feet to warm them too. Then the little flame went out. The stove vanished. She only the remains of the burnt match in her hand. She struck another match against the wall. It burned brightly, and when the light fell upon the wall, it became transparent like a thin veil, and she could see through it into a room. On the table, a snow-white cloth was spread, and on it stood a shining dinner service. The roast goose steamed gloriously, stuffed with apples and prunes. And what was still better, the goose jumped down from the dish and waddled along the floor with a knife and fork in its breast, right over to the little girl. Then the match went out, and she could see only the thick, cold wall. I can't read. She lighted another match. Then she was sitting under the most beautiful Christmas tree. It was much larger and much more beautiful than the one she had seen last Christmas through the glass door at the rich merchant's home. Thousands of candles burned on the green branches, and colored pictures like those in the print shops looked down at her. The little girl reached both her hands towards them, then the match went out. But the Christmas lights mounted higher. She saw them now as bright stars in the sky. One of them fell down, forming a long line of fire. Now someone is dying, thought the little girl, for her old grandmother, the only person who had loved her, and who was now dead, had told her that when a star fell down, a soul went up to God. She rubbed another match against the wall. It became bright again, and in the glow of the old grandmother stood, clear and shining, kind and lovely. "Grandmother," cried the child, "oh, take me with you. I know you will disappear when the match is burned out. You will vanish like the warm stove, the wonderful roast goose, and the beautiful big Christmas tree." And she quickly struck the whole bundle of matches, for she wished to keep her grandmother with her. And the matches burned with such a glow that it became brighter than daylight. Grandmother had never been so grand and beautiful. She took the little girl in her arms, and both of them flew in brightness and joy above the earth, very, very high, and up there was neither cold nor hunger nor fear. They were with God. But in the corner, leaning against the wall, sat the little girl with red cheeks and smiling mouth, frozen to death on the last evening of the old year. The New Year's sun rose upon a little pathetic figure. The child sat there stiff and cold, holding the matches, of which one bundle was almost burnt. She wanted to warm herself, the people said. No one imagined what beautiful things she had seen, and how happily she had gone with her old grandmother into the bright new year. The end. Stop crying and go to sleep. Thank you, Anima Junkie 123 for remembering for 4 months now. But it's so sad, Kohai. Well, go to a different story now. Okay. Okay. This one is a Christmas Tree by Charles Dickens, transcribed from the 1911 Chapman and Hall Christmas Stories Edition, Volume 1. Wait, I heard a page flip. Do you own this physical? No. So, this is called A Christmas Tree from 1850. I had been looking on this evening at a merry company of children assembled round that pretty German toy, a Christmas tree. The tree was planted in the middle of a great round table, and towered high above their heads. It was brilliantly lighted by a multitude of little tapers, and everywhere sparkled and glittered with bright objects. There were rosy-cheeked dolls hiding behind the green leaves, and there were real watches with movable hands, at the least, and an endless capacity of being wound up, dangling from innumerable twigs. There were French polished tables, chairs, bedstead, wardrobes, 8-day clocks, and various other articles of domestic furniture, wonderfully made in tin at Wolverhampton, perched among the bowls as if in preparation for some fairy housekeeping. There were jolly, broad-faced little men, much more agreeable in appearance than many real men, and in no wonder, for their heads took off and showed them to be full of sugar plums. There were fiddles and drums, there were tambourines, books, work boxes, paint boxes, sweetmeat boxes, peep show boxes, all kinds of boxes. There were trinkets for the elder girls, far brighter than any grown-up gold and jewels. There were baskets and pincushions and odd devices. There were guns, swords, and banners. There were witches standing in enchanted rings of pasteboard to tell fortunes. There were teetotums, humming tops, needle cases, pen wipers, smelling bottles, conversation cards, bouquet holders, real fruit made artificially dazzling with gold leaf, imitation apples, pears, and walnuts, crammed with surprises. In short, as a pretty child before me delightedly whispered to another pretty child, her bosom friend, there was everything and more. This motley collection of odd objects clustering on the tree like magic fruit, and flashing back the bright looks directed towards it from every side. Some of the diamond eyes admiring it were hardly on level with the table, and a few were languishing in timid wonder on the bosoms of pretty mothers, aunts, and nurses, made a lively realization of the fancies of childhood, and set me thinking how all the trees that grow and all the things that come into existence on earth have their wild adornments at that well-remembered time. Being now at home again and alone, the only person in the house awake, my thoughts are drawn back by a fascination which I did not care to resist, to my own childhood. I began to consider, what do we all remember best upon the branches of the Christmas tree of our own young Christmas days, by which we climbed to real life? Straight in the middle of the room, cramped in the freedom of its growth by no encircling walls or soon-reached ceiling, a shadowy tree arises and looked up into the dreamy brightness of its top. For I observe in this tree the singular property that it appears to grow downwards towards the earth. I look into my youngest Christmas recollections. I'm gonna bring this closer to me. My eyes are not like what they used to be, youngins. All toys at first I find up yonder, among the green holly and red berries, is the tumbler with his hands in his pockets, who wouldn't lie down, but whenever he was put upon the floor, persisted in rolling his fat body about until he rolled himself still, and brought those lobster eyes of his to bear upon me, when I affected to laugh very much, but in my hearts of hearts was extremely doubtful of him. Close behind him was that infernal snuff-box, out of which there sprang a demoniacal counselor in a black gown, with an obnoxious head of hair and a red cloth mouth, wide open, who was not to be endured on any term, but could not be put away either, for he used suddenly, in highly magnified state, to fly out of mammoth snuff boxes in dreams, when least expected. Nor is the frog with cobbler's wax on his tail far off, for there was no knowing where he wouldn't jump, and when he flew over the candle and came upon one hands with that spotted back red on a green ground, he was horrible. The cardboard lady in a blue silk skirt, who was stood up against the candlestick to dance, and whom I see on the same branch, was milder and was beautiful. But I can't say as much for the larger cardboard man, who used to be hung against the wall and pulled by a string. There was a sinister expression in that nose of his, and when he got his legs round his neck, which he often did, he was ghastly and not a creature to be alone with. When did that dreadful mask first look at me? Who put it on, and why was I so frightened at the sight of it is an era in my life. It was not a hideous visage in itself. It is even meant to be droll. Why then were its stolid features so intolerable? Surely not because it hid the wearer's face. Sorry. An apron would have done as much, and I thought I should have preferred even the apron away. It would not have been absolutely insupportable like the mask. Was it the immobility of the mask? Doll's face was immovable. But I was not afraid of her. Perhaps that fixed and set change, coming over a real face, infused into my quickened heart some remote suggestion and dread of the universal change that is to come on every face and make it still. Nothing reconciled me to it. No drummers from whom proceeded a melancholy chirping on the turning of a handle. No regiment soldiers with a mute band taken out for a box and fitted, one by one, upon a stiff and lazy little set of lazy tongs. No old woman made of wires and a brown paper composition cutting up a pie for two small children could give me a permanent comfort for a long time. Nor was it any satisfaction to be shown the mask and see it was made of paper, or to have it locked up and be assured that no one wore it. The mere recollection of that fixed face, the mere knowledge of its existence anywhere, was sufficient to awake me in the night, all perspiration and horror, with, "Oh, I know it's coming, oh, the mask." I have never wondered what the dear old donkey with the panniers, there he is, he was made of then. His hide was real to the touch, I recollect, and the great black horse with the round red spots all over him, the horse that I could never get upon. I never wondered what had brought him to the strange condition, or thought that such a horse was not commonly seen at Newmarket. The 4 horses of no color next to him that went into the wagon of cheeses and could be taken out and stabled under the piano appeared to have bits of fur tippets for their tail and other bits for their manes, and to stand on pegs instead of legs. But it was not so when they were brought home for a Christmas present. They were all right then. Neither were their harness unceremoniously nailed to their chest, as appears to be the case now. The tinkling works of the music cart I did find out to be made of quill toothpicks and wire, and I always thought that the little tumbler and his shirt sleeves perpetually swarming up one side of a wooden frame and climbing down head foremost on the other. Always, wait, rather a weak-minded person. Though good-natured, but the Jacob's ladder next to him, made of little squares of red wood, went flapping and clattering over one another, each developing a different picture, and the whole enlivened by small bells, was a mighty marvel and a great delight. This one is called A Christmas Tree by Charles Dickens. Jacob's ladder, it's a toy. You flip one end of the toy and it goes clack, 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 all the way down. You can either change colors or change pictures. I used to own one. I get the feeling you don't read much. The fuck is that supposed to mean, bitch? Go on, explain yourself. You have the stage here. Go on, talk. Speak. Speak your mind. That's what I thought. That's what I thought. Alright, let's continue. Ah, the doll's house, of which I was not proprietor, but where I visited. I don't admire the House of Parliaments half so much as that stone-fronted mansion with real glass windows and doorsteps, and a real balcony, greener than I ever seen now, except at watering places, and even they afford but a poor imitation. And though it did open all at once, the entire house front, which was a blow I admit, as cancelling the fiction of a staircase, but it was but to shut it up again, and I could believe. Even open, there were three distinct rooms in it, a sitting room, and a bedroom, elegantly furnished, and best of all, a kitchen with uncommonly soft fire irons, a plentiful assortment of diminutive utensils. Oh, the warming pan, a tin-man cook in profile, who was always going to fry 2 fish. What vermicide justice have I done to the noble feast wherein the set of wooden platters figured, each with their own peculiar delicacy, as a ham or turkey glued tight onto it, and garnished with something green, which I recollect as moss? Could all the temperance societies of these later days united give me such a tea-drinking as I had through the means of yonder little set of blue crockery, which really would hold liquid? It ran out of the small wooden cask, I recollect, and it tasted of matches, which made tea, nectar, And if the two legs of the infectual little sugar tongs did tumble over one another, and what purpose, like Punch's hands, what does it matter? And if I did once shriek out as a poisoned child and strike the fashionable company with consternation, by reason of having drunk a little teaspoon inadvertently dissolved in too hot tea, I was never the worse for it except by a powder. Upon the next branches of the tree lower down, hard by the green roller and miniature garden tools, how thick the books begin to hang. Thin books. Thin books. Do you know what those are in Japan? No? Oh my gosh. They're doujinshi. It's porn. They call them thin books. They call them thin books because they're very thin. Anyways, that's why I'm giggling. In themselves, at first, but many of them, and with deliciously smooth covers of bright red or green, when fat black letters to begin with. A was an archer and shot at a frog. Of course he was. He was an apple pie also, and there he is. It was a good many things in his time, was A, and so were most of his friends except X, who had so little versatility that I never known him beyond Xerxes or Zampeth, like Y, who always confined to a yacht or yew tree, and Z condemned to forever be a zebra or a zanny. But now the very tree itself changes, becomes a beanstalk, the marvelous beanstalk up which Jack climbed to the giant's house. And now those dreadfully interesting double-headed giants with their clubs over their shoulders begin to stride along the boles in a perfect throng, dragging knights and ladies home for dinner by the hair of their heads. And Jack, how noble, with his sword of sharpness and his shoes of swiftness. Again these old meditations come upon me as I gaze up at him, and debate within myself whether there was more than one Jack, which I am loath to believe possible, or only one genuine, original, admirable Jack who achieved all the recorded exploits. Good for Christmas time is the ruddy color of the cloak, in which the tree making a forest of itself for her to trip through with her basket. Little Red Riding Hood comes to me one Christmas Eve to give me information of the cruelty and treachery of that dissembling wolf who ate her grandmother, without making any impression on his appetite, and then ate her. For after making the ferocious joke about his teeth, she was my first love. I felt that if I could have married Little Red Riding Hood, I should have known bliss. But it was not to be. There was nothing for it but to look out the wolf in Noah's Ark there, and put him late in the procession on the table as a monster who was to be degraded. Oh, the wonderful Noah's Ark! It was not found seaworthy, or put in a washing tub, and the animals were crammed in at the roof, and needed to have their legs well shaken down before they could be brought in. Even there and then, 10 to 1, they began to tumble out the door, which was imperfectly fastened with a wire latch. But what was that against it? Consider the noble fly, a size or two smaller than the elephant. The ladybird, the butterfly, all triumphs of art. Consider the goose, whose feet were so small, and whose balance was so indifferent, that he usually tumbled forward and knocked down all the animal creation. Consider Noah and his family, like idiotic tobacco stoppers. And how the leopard struck two warm little fingers, and how the tails of the larger animal used gradually to resolve themselves into frayed bits of string. Hush again, a forest, and somebody up in a tree. Not Robin Hood, not Valentine, not the yellow dwarf. I have passed him in all Mother Bunch's wonders without mention. But an eastern king with a glittering oh no, I don't know this word. Scimitar and turban. Scimitar. Scimitar? Yeah. It's a curved sword, thank you. Sai is pronounced scimitar. Okay. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, nerds. By Allah, two eastern kings, for I see another. Looking over his shoulder, down upon the grass at the tree's foot lies the full length of a coal-black giant, stretched asleep with his head in a lady's lap. And near them is a glass box fastened with 4 locks of shining steel, in which he keeps the lady prisoner when he is awake. I see the 4 keys in his girdle now. The lady makes signs to the 2 kings in the tree, who softly descend. It is the setting in of the bright Arabian Nights. Oh, now all common things become uncommon and enchanted to me. All lamps are wonderful. All rings are talismans. Common flower pots are full of treasure, with a little earth scattered on the top. Trees are for Ali Baba to hide in. Beefsteaks are thrown down to the valley of diamonds, that precarious stone may stick to them and be carried by eagles to their nest, whence the traders with loud cries will scare them. Tarts are made according to the recipe of the vizier's son Sora, who turned pastry cook after he was set down in his drawers at the gate of Damascus. Cobblers are all Mustafas. And in the habit of sewing up people cut into 4 pieces to whom they were taken blindfold. What is happening? The old man who's looking at this tree who's looking at this tree is imagining all the decorations coming to life. That's what's happening. And he's also remembering like each Christmas ornament as like something he saw in his childhood. This is a long story. Are you guys still okay with it? Yeah, I'm invested now. Okay. Okay. I know it's a little weird. And this is actually my first time meeting the story, too. Okay, let's finish it. Any iron ring let into stone is the entrance to a cave which only waits for the magician. And the little fire and the necromancy that will make the earth shake. All the dates imported come from the same tree as that unlucky date with whose shell the merchant knocked out of the eye of the genie's invisible sun. All olives are of the stalk of that fresh fruit, concerning which the commander of the faithful overheard the boy conduct the fictitious trial of the fraudulent olive merchant. All apples are akin to the apple purchased, with two others, from the sultan's gardener for 3 sequins, in which the tall... Damn it! I can't read this! Can I read this? Okay, this was a different time. This is from 1890, okay? Okay, luckily it doesn't say the N-word. It doesn't say the N-word, okay? It doesn't say the N-word, otherwise I will get in trouble. It does have some problematic language though. So I will read this as a product of its time. Okay. It is not the N-word, okay? Shut up. It says it says it says which the tall black slave stole from the child. It's fine, right? It's fine. It's not bad, but it's still like not good. Okay, continuing on. All dogs are associated with the dog. Really a transformed man who jumped upon the baker's counter, put his paw on the piece of bad money. All rice recalls the rice which the awful lady, who was a ghoul, could only peck at by grains. Because of her nightly feast in the burial place, my very rocking horse, there he is, with his nostrils turned completely inside out, indicative of blood, should have a peg in his neck, by the virtue thereof to fly away with me, as the wooden horse did with the Prince of Persia in the sight of all his father's court. Yes, on every object that I recognize among those upper branches of my Christmas tree, I see this fairy light. When I wake in bed at daybreak on the cold, dark winter mornings, the white snow dimly beheld outside through the frost on the window pane, I hear Darnazad, "Sister, sister, if you are yet awake, I pray you finish the history of the young king of the Black Islands." Scheherazade replies, "If my lord the Sultan will suffer me to live another day, sister, I will not only finish that, but tell you a more wonderful story yet." Then the gracious Sultan goes out, giving no orders for the execution, and we all free breathe again. At this height of my tree, I begin to see, cowering among the leaves, it may be born of turkey or pudding or mince pie, or of these many fancies jumbled with Robinson Crusoe on his desert island. Philip Quarrel among the monkeys, Sandford and Merton with Mr. Barlow, Mother Bunch and the Mask, or it may be the result of indigestion assisted by the imagination in overdoctoring a prodigious nightmare. It was exceedingly indistinct that I don't know why it's frightful, but I know it is. I can only make out that it is an immense array of shapeless things which appear to be planted on a vast exaggeration of the lazy tongs that used to bear the toy soldiers, and to be slowly coming close to my eyes and receding to an immeasurable distance. When it comes closest, it is worse. In connection with it, I descry remembrance of winter nights incredibly long, of being sent early to bed as a punishment for small offense, and waking in 2 hours with the sensation of having been asleep 2 nights, the laden hopelessness of morning ever drawing, and the oppression of a weight of remorse. And now I see a wonderful row of little lights rise smoothly out of the ground before a vast green curtain. Now a bell rings, a magic bell, which still sounds in my ears unlike any other bell, and music plays amidst a buzz of voices and a fragrant smell of orange peel and oil. Anon, the magic bell commands the music to cease, and the great green curtain rolls itself up majestically, and the play begins. The devoted dog of Montague avenges the death of his master, foully murdered in the forest of Bondi, and a humorous peasant with a red nose and a very little hat, whom I take from this hour forth to my bosom as a friend. I think he was a waiter or a hostler at a village inn, but in many years have passed since he and I have met. Remarks that the... Oh my gosh, they're using big words here. Sagacity of that dog is indeed surprising, and evermore this jocular conceit will live in my remembrance fresh and unfading, overtopping all possible jokes until the end of time. And now I learn with bitter tears how poor Jane Shore, dressed in all white, with her brown hair hanging down, went starving through the streets, or how George Barnwell killed the worthiest uncle that ever man had, and afterwards so sorry for it that he ought to have been let off. Come swift to comfort me, the pantomime stupendous phenomena, when clowns are shot from loaded mortars into the great chandelier, bright constellation that it is, when harlequins covered all over with scales of pure gold twist and sparkle like amazing fish, when pantaloons, whom I deem it no irrelevance to compare in my own mind to my grandfather, put red-hot pokers in his pocket and cries, "Here's somebody coming," or taxes the clown with petty larceny by saying, "Now I saw you do it." And everything is capable with the greatest ease of being changed into anything, and nothing is but thinking makes it so. Now, too, I perceive my first experience of the dreary sensation often to return in afterlife, of being unable, next day, to get back to the dull set of world of wanting to live forever in the bright atmosphere I have quitted, of doting on the little fairy with the wand like a celestial barber's pole, and pining for a fairy immortality along with her. Ah, she came back in many steps, as my eyes wandered down the branches of my Christmas tree, and goes as often and has never yet stayed by me. This is a lot of imagination for an old man. Out of this delight springs the toy theater. There it is, with its familiar proscenium and ladies in feathers, the boxes, and all of its attendants' occupation with paste and glue and gum and watercolors. In the getting up of the miller and his men, and Elizabeth or the exile of Serbia, in spite of a few besetting accidents and failures, particularly an unreasonable disposition in the respectable Clamar, and some others to become faint in the legs and double up at exciting points of the drama, a teeming world of fancies so suggestive and awe-embracing that far below it on my Christmas tree I see dark, dirty real theaters in the daytime, adorned with these associations as the freshest garlands of the rarest flowers, charming me yet. But hark! The waits are playing, and they break my childish sleep. What images do I associate with the Christmas music as I see them forth on the Christmas tree? Known before all others, keeping far apart from all others, they gather around my little bed. An angel speaking to a group of shepherds in a field, some travelers with eyes uplifted, following a star, a baby in a manger, a child in a spacious temple. Talking with grave men, a solemn figure with a mild and yet beautiful face, raising a dead girl by the hand, again near a city gate, calling back the son of a widow on his bier to life, a crowd of people looking through the open roof of a chamber where he sits, letting down a sick person on a bed with ropes, the same in the tempest, walking on the water to a ship again on a seashore, teaching a great multitude again, with a child upon his knee and the other children around again, restoring sight to the blind, speech to the dumb, hearing to the deaf, health to the sick, strength to the lame, knowledge to the ignorant, again dying upon a cross, watched by armed soldiers, a thick darkness coming on, the earth beginning to shake, the only one voice heard, forgive them for they know not what they do. Still, on the lower and maturer branches of the tree, Christmas associations cluster thick, school books shut up, Ovid and Virgil silenced. The rule of three, with its cool and pertinent inquiries, long disposed of, Therence and Plautus acted no more. An arena of huddled desks informed, all chirped and notched and inked. Cricket bats stumped and balls, left higher up, and the smell of trodden grass, and the softened noise of shouts in the evening air. The tree is still fresh, still gay. If I no more come home at Christmas time, there will be boys and girls, thanks heavens. While the world laughs, and they do, yonder they dance and play upon the branches of my tree. God bless them merrily, and my heart dances and plays too. And I do come home at Christmas. We all do, or we all should. We all come home, or ought to come home for a short holiday. The longer the better. From the great boarding school where we all were ever working in our arithmetical slates to take and give a rest. As to going a visiting, where we cannot go, we will. Where have we not been when we would? starting our fancy from our Christmas tree. Away into the winter prospect, there are many such upon the tree, on by low-lying, misty grounds, through fens and fogs, up long hills winding dark as caverns between thick plantations, almost shutting out the sparkling stars, so out of broad heights until we stop at last, with sudden silence at an avenue. The gate bell has a deep, half-awful sound in the frosty air. The gates swing open on its hinges, and as we drive up to a great house, the glancing lights grow larger in the windows, and the opposing rows of trees seem to fall solemnly back on either side to give us place. At intervals all day, a frightened hare has shot across the whitened turf, or the distant clatter of a herd of deer trampling the hard frost has, for the minute, crushed the silence too. Their watchful eyes beneath the fern may be shining now, if we could see them like the icy dewdrops on the leaves. But they are still, and all is still, and so the lights growing larger, and the trees falling back before us, and closing up again behind us as if to forbid retreat, we come to the houses. This is a huge paragraph. Give me a second. I was not lying when the story is long. We still have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 more paragraphs. Don't worry. This one's the longest one though. This tree has a lot of ornaments. There is probably a smell of roasted chestnuts and other good comfortable things all the time. For we are telling winter stories, ghost stories, or more shame for us, round the Christmas fire, and we have never stirred except to draw a little nearer to it. But no matter for that, we come to the house, and it is an old house, full of great chimneys where wood is burnt on ancient dogs upon the hearth, and grim portraits, some of them with grim legends too, lower distrustfully from the oaken panels of the wall. We are a middle-aged nobleman, and we make a generous supper with our host and hostess and their guests. It being Christmas time and the old house full of company, then we go to bed. Our room is a very old room. It is hung with tapestry. Don't like the portrait of a cavalier in green over the fireplace. There are great black beams on the ceiling, and there is a great black bedstead, supported by the foot by 2 great black figures, who seem to have come off a couple of tombs in its old baronial church in the park, for our particular accommodation. But we are not a superstitious nobleman, and we never mind. Well, we dismiss our servant, lock the door, and sit before the fire in our dressing gown, musing about a great many things. At length, we go to bed. Well, we can't sleep. We toss and tumble and can't sleep. The embers on the wicked-looking cavalier in green, the flickering light, they seem to advance and retire, which though we are not by any means a superstitious nobleman, that is not agreeable. Well, we get nervous, more and more nervous. We say, this is very foolish, but we can't stand this. We'll pretend to be ill and knock up somebody. Sorry, that is a funny sentence in modern times. Well, we're going to do it. When the locked doors open, there comes in along A young woman, deathly pale with long fair hair, who glides to the fire and sits down in the chair we have left there, wringing her hands. Then we notice her clothes are wet. Our tongues cleave to the roof of our mouths and we can't speak. But we observe her accurately. Her clothes are wet, her long hair is dabbled with moist mud. She is dressed in the fashion of 200 years ago. She has at her girdle a bunch of rusty keys. Well, there she sits, and we can't even faint. We are in such a state about it. Presently she gets up and tries all the locks in the room with the rusty keys, which won't fit one of them. Then she fixes her eyes on the portrait of the cavalier in green, and says in a low, terrible voice, "The stags know it." After that she wrings her hands again, passes the bedside, and the portrait... Wait. And goes out the door. Sorry, I reread something. We hurry on in our dressing gowns, seize our pistols, which we always travel with pistols, and are following. When we find the door locked, we turn the key, look out the dark gallery, and no one is there. We wander away and try to find our servant. Can't be done. We pace the gallery till daybreak, then return to our deserted room, fall asleep, and are awakened by our servant. Nothing ever haunts him in the shining sun. Well, we make a wretched breakfast, and all company say we look queer. After breakfast, we go over the house with our host. Then we take him to the portrait of the cavalier in green. Then it all comes out. He was false to a young housekeeper once attached to that family, and famous for her beauty, who drowned herself in a pond, and whose body was discovered after a long time because the stags refused to drink the water. Since which it had been whispered that she traverses the house at midnight, but goes especially to that room where the cavalier in green was wont to sleep, trying the old locks with the rusty keys. Well, we tell our host of what we've seen, and a shade comes over his feature, and he begs it may be hushed up, and so it is. But it was all true, and we say so before we died. We are dead now, to many responsible people. There is no end to the old houses, which resounding galleries and dismal state bedchambers and haunted wings shut up for many years, though which we may ramble with an agreeable creeping up to our back and encounter with any number of ghosts. But it is worthy of remark, perhaps, reducible to a very few general types and classes, for ghosts have little originality and walk on a beaten track. Thus it comes to pass that a certain room of a certain old hall, where a certain bad lord, baronet, knight, or gentleman shot himself, has certain planks in the floor from which the blood will not be taken out. You may scrape and scrape, as the present owner has done, or plane and plane, as his father did, or scrub and scrub, as his grandfather did, or burn and burn with strong acids, as his great-grandfather did, but there the blood will still be, no redder and no paler, no more and no less, always the same. Thus in such another house there is a haunted door. There never will keep open, or another door that will never keep shut, or a haunted sound of a spinning wheel, or a hammer, or a footstep, or a cry, or a sigh, or a horse's tramp, or the rattling of a chain. Or else there is a turret clock, which at the midnight hour strike 13, when the head of the family is going to die. Or a shadowy, immovable black carriage, which at such a time is always seen by somebody waiting near the great gates in the stable yard. Or thus it came to pass how Lady Mary went to pay a visit to the large wild house in the Scottish Highlands, and being fatigued with her long journey, retired to bed early, and innocently said the next morning at the breakfast table, "How odd to have so late a party last night in this remote place, and not tell me of it before I went to bed." Then everyone asked Lady Mary what she meant. Then Lady Mary replied, Why, all night long the carriages were driving around and round the terrace underneath my window. Then the owner of the house turned pale, and so did his lady, and Charles MacDoodle of MacDoodle signed to Lady Mary to say no more. And everyone was silent. After breakfast, Charles MacDoodle told Lady Mary that it was tradition in the family that the rumbling carriages on the terrace betokened death. So it proved. For 2 months afterwards the lady of the mansion died, and Lady Mary, who was a maid of honor at court, was often told the story to the old Queen Charlotte by this token that the old king always said, what, ghost, no such thing, and never left off saying so until he went to bed. Or a friend of somebody's whom most of us know, when he was a young man at college, had a particular friend with whom he made compact that if it were possible for the spirit to return to this earth after its separation from the body, he of the twain, he who first died, should reappear to the other. In course of time, this compact was forgotten by our friend. The two young men had progressed in life and taken diverging paths that were wide asunder. But one night, many years afterward, our friend, being in the north of England and staying for the night in an inn on the Yorkshire moors, happened to look out of bed, and there in the moonlight, leaning on a bureau near the window, steadfastly regarding him, saw his old college friend. The parents, being solemnly addressed, replied in a kind of whisper, but very audibly, "Do not come near me. I am dead. I'm here to redeem my promise. I come from another world, but may not disclose its secrets." Then the whole form became paler, melted, as if it were, into the moonlight, and faded away. Or there was the daughter of the first occupier of the picturesque Elizabethan house, so famous in our neighborhood. Have you heard about her? No. Why, she went out one summer evening at twilight, when she was a beautiful girl, just 17 years of age, to gather flowers in the garden, and presently came running, terrified, into the hall, to her father, saying, "Oh, dear father, I have met myself." He took her in his arms, and told her it was fancy, but she said, "Oh no, I met myself in the broad walk, and I was pale and gathering withered flowers, and I turned my head and held them up. And that night she died, and a picture of her story was begun, though never finished, and they say it was somewhere in the house to this day, this face to the wall." Or the uncle of my brother's wife. The uncle of my brother's wife, okay, was riding home on horseback one mellow evening at sunset, where in a green lane close to his own house he saw a man standing before him in the very center of a narrow way. "Why does that man in the cloak stand there?" he thought. "Does he want me to ride over him?" But the figure never moved. He felt a strange sensation at seeing it so still, but slackened his trot and rode forward. When he was close to it, as almost to touch it with his stirrup, his horse shield, and the figure glided up the bank in a curious, unearthly manner, backwards, and without seeming to use his feet, and it was gone. The uncle of my brother's wife, exclaiming, "Good heavens, it's my cousin Harry from Bombay," put spurs into his horse, which was suddenly as a profuse sweat, and wondering at such strange behavior, dashed around to the front of his house. There he saw the same figure, just passing in the long French window of the drawing room. Opening on the ground, he threw his bridle to his servant and hastened in after it. His sister was sitting there alone. "Alice, where is my cousin Harry?" "Her cousin Harry, John?" "Yes, from Bombay. I met him in the lane just now, and saw him enter here this instant. Not a creature had been seen by any one, and at that hour and minute it was afterward appeared, this cousin died in India." Suddenly we're like, suddenly we're like in ghost stories now. Or it was a certain sensible old maiden who died at 99 and retained her faculties to the last, who really did see the orphan boy, a story of which had been incorrectly told, but which was the real truth is this, because it is in fact a story belonging to our family, and she was a connection of our family. When she was about 40 years of age and still an uncommonly fine woman, her lover died young, which was the reason she never married, though she had many offers. She went to stay in a place in Kent, which her brother, an Indian merchant, had newly bought. There was a story that this place had once been held in trust by the guardian of a young boy who was himself the next heir, and who killed the young boy by harsh and cruel treatment. She knew nothing of it. It had been said there was a cage in her bedroom in which the guardian used to put the boy. There was no such thing. There was only a closet. She went to the bed and made no alarm whatsoever in the night, and in the morning said composingly to her maid when she came in, "Who is the pretty forlorn-looking child who had been peeping out of my closet all night?" The maid replied by giving a loud scream and instantly decamping. She was surprised, but she was a woman of remarkable strength of mind, and she dressed herself and went downstairs, and closeted herself with her brother. "Now, Walter," she said, "I have been disturbed all night by a pretty forlorn-looking boy who had been constantly peeping out of that closet in my room, which I can't open. This is some trick." "I am afraid not, Charlotte," he said, "for it is the legend of the house. It is the orphan boy." "What did he do?" "He opened the door softly," said she, "and peeped out. Sometime he came a step or two into the room. Then I called to him to encourage him, and he shrunk and shuddered and crept in again and shut the door." "The closet has no communication, Charlotte," said her brother, "with any other part of the house, and it's nailed up." It was undeniably true, and it took 2 carpenters a whole fortnight to get it open. For exclamation. Then she was satisfied she had seen the orphan boy. But the wild and terrible part of the story was that she was also seen by 3 of her brother's sons, in succession, who all died young. On the occasion of each child being taken ill, he came home in a heat 12 hours before and said, "Oh, mamma, he had been playing under a particular oak tree on a certain meadow with a strange boy, a pretty forlorn-looking boy, who was very timid and made signs." From fatal experience, the parents came to know this was the orphan boy, that the course of that child whom he chose for his little playmate was surely run. We're almost to the end. This is somehow a Christmas story. Legion is the name of the German castles where we sit up alone to wait for the spectre, where we are shown into a room made of comparatively cheerful for our looking reception, where we glance round the shadows thrown on the blank walls by the crackling fire, where we feel very lonely when the village innkeeper and his pretty daughter have retired, after laying down a fresh store of wood upon the hearth, and setting forth on the small table such supper cheer as a cold roast capon, bread, grapes, and a flask of old Rhine wine, where the reverberating doors close on their retreat, one after another, like so many peals of sullen thunder, and where, about the small hours of night, we come into knowledge of divers supernatural mystery. Legion is the name of the haunted German students, in which society we draw yet nearer to the fire, while the schoolboy in the corner opens his eyes wide and round and flies off the footstool as chosen for his seat. The door accidentally blows open. Vast is the crop of such fruit shining on our Christmas tree, and blossom almost at the very top, ripening down the boughs. Among the later toys and fancies hanging there, as idle often and less pure to be the images once associated with the sweet old waits, the softened music in the night, ever unalterable, encircled by the social thoughts of Christmas time, still let the oh gosh, banant figure of my childhood stand unchanged, and every cheerful image and suggestion that the season brings. May this bright star that rested above the poor roof be the star of all the Christian world. A moment's pause of vanishing tree of which the lower boughs are dark to me as yet, and look to me once more. I know there are blank spaces on thy branches, where eyes that I have loved have shone and smiled, from which they have departed. But far above I see the riser of the dead girl and the widow's son, and God is good. If age be hiding for me in this unseen portion of thy downward growth, oh may I with the grey hand turn a child's heart to that figure yet, and a child's trustfulness and confidence. Now the tree is decorated with bright merriment and song and dance and cheerfulness, and they are welcome. Innocent and welcome they ever held beneath the branch of the Christmas tree, which casts no gloomy shadow. But as it sinks into the ground, I hear a whisper going through the leaves. This in commemoration of the law of love and kindness, mercy, and compassion. This in remembrance of me. The end. That was long, but fun and strange. This one is Charles Dickens. This one's a very strange one, huh? Oh, sorry. It appears... Hold on. Thank you, Slice Saber, for the 4. Actually going to bed with this. Thanks, Kalai. Good night. What was the name of this story? A Christmas Tree. It's literally called A Christmas Tree, so it's a narrator kind of making stories inspired by the Christmas ornaments. So he's seeing all these Christmas ornaments and like making stories with them. Can't remember how much about that was actually the Christmas tree. The Christmas tree is just the narrative device. The Christmas tree was only a narrative device to all these many mini stories. Okay. Would you guys like one more story? Because that one kind of hurt my cheeks. Okay, we'll do one more. This one is called A Kidnapped Santa Claus, which is a story that follows the upcoming Members movie, by the way, The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus. It is a Christmas-themed short story by American writer L. Frank Baum. It was first published in 1904. It was published 2 years after The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus from 1902. This one is kind of a little bit of a darker story, apparently. Merry Christmas! Wait, this is the last one? I had another one, but I think the Nutcracker is gonna be way too, the Nutcracker's a novel. And, I think my cheeks are already in pain. This one doesn't seem, well, it's sort of long, but not really as long as the one before. That was a really big Christmas tree. Yeah. From laughter, right? From reading, duh. So this one shares themes with The Life and Adventure of Santa Claus, which the movie for our members is based off of. Thank you, Slice Saber, for the 5 gifted. And this one's kind of a shorter story. But I really like The Life and Adventure of Santa Claus. So I'm hoping that A Kidnapped Santa Claus will be very interesting. Alright? I've never read this story in my life. It should be interesting. Yatta. Okay. Santa Claus lives in the Laughing Valley, where stands the big rambling castle in which his toys are manufactured. His workmen selected from the wrys, knooks, pixies, and fairies live with him, and everyone is as busy as can be from one year's end to another. It is called the Laughing Valley because everything there is happy and gay. The brook chuckles to itself as it leaps lick-rolling between its green banks. The wind whistles merrily in the trees, the sunbeams dance lightly over the soft grass, and the violets and wildflowers look smilingly up from the green nests. To laugh, one needs to be happy. To be happy, one needs to be content. And throughout the Laughing Valley of Santa Claus, contentment reigns supreme. On one side is the mighty forest of Burzy. At the other side stands the huge mountain that contains the caves of Daemons. Between them, the valley lies smiling and peaceful. One would think that our good old Santa Claus, who devotes his days to making children happy, would have no enemies on earth. And as a matter of fact, for a period of time he encountered nothing but love wherever he might go. But Daemons who live in the mountain caves grew to hate Santa Claus very much, and all for the simplest reason that he made children happy. The caves of Daemons are 5 in number. A broad pathway leads up to the first cave, which is finely arched cavern by the foot of the mountain, the entrance being beautifully carved and decorated. In it resides the Daemon of Selfishness. Back of this is another cavern inhabited by the Daemon of Envy. The cave of the Daemon of Hatred is next in order, and though this one passes to the home of Daemon of Malice, situated in a dark and fearful cave in the very heart of the mountain, I do not know what lies beyond this. Some say there are terrible pitfalls leading to death and destruction, and this may very well be true. However, from each one of the 4 caves mentioned, there is a small, narrow tunnel leading to the 5th cave, a cozy little room occupied by the Daemon of Repentance. And as the rocky floors of these passages are well worn by the tracks of passing feet, I judge that many wanderers in the Cave of Daemons have escaped through the tunnels to the abode of the Daemon of Repentance, who is said to be a pleasant sort of fellow who gladly opens for one a little door admitting you to fresh air and sunshine again. Well, these Daemons of the cave, thinking they had great cause to dislike old Santa Claus, held a meeting one day to discuss the matter. I'm really getting lonesome, said the Demon of Selfishness, for Santa Claus distributes so many pretty gifts to all the children that they become happy and generous through his example and keep away from my cave. I'm having the same trouble, rejoined the Demon of Envy. The Daemon of Envy. The little ones seem quite content with Santa Claus, and there are few indeed that I can coax to become envious. And that makes it bad for me, declared the Daemon of Hatred, for if no children pass through the caves of selfishness and envy, none can get to my cavern, or to mine, added the Daemon of Malice. For my part, said the Daemon of Repentance, it is easily seen that if children do not visit your caves, they have no need to visit mine, so that I am quite as neglected as you are. All because of this person they call Santa Claus, exclaimed the Daemon of Envy. He is simply ruining our business, and something must be done at once. To this they readily agreed, but what to do was another and more difficult matter to settle. They knew that Santa Claus worked all through the year at his castle in the Laughing Valley, preparing the gifts he was to distribute on Christmas Eve, and at first they resolved to try to tempt him to their caves, that they might lead him on to the terrible pitfalls that end in destruction. So the very next day, while Santa Claus was busily at work, surrounded by his little band of assistants, the Daemon of Selfishness came to him and said, "These toys are so wonderfully bright and pretty. Why do you not keep them for yourself? It is a pity to give them to those noisy boys and fretful girls who break and destroy them so quickly." "Nonsense!" cried the grey-beard, his bright eyes twinkling merrily as he turned towards the tempting Daemon. "The boys and girls are never so noisy and fretful after receiving my presents, and if I can make them happy for one day in the year, I am quite content." So the Daemon went back to the others, who awaited him in their caves, and said, "I have failed, for Santa Claus is not at all selfish." The following day, the daemon of envy visited Santa Claus. Said he, "The toy shops are full of playthings quite as pretty as those you are making. What a shame it is that they should interfere with your business. They make toys by machinery much quicker than you can make by hand, and they sell them for money, while you get nothing at all for your hard work." But Santa Claus refused to be envious of the toy shops. "I can supply the little ones but once a year, on Christmas Eve," he answered, "for the children are many, and I am but one, and as my work is one of love and kindness, I would be ashamed to receive money for my little gifts. But throughout all the year, the children must be amused in some way, and so the toy shops are able to bring much happiness to my little friends. I like the toy shops, and I am glad to see them prosper." In spite of the second rebuff, the daemon of hatred thought he would try to influence Santa Claus. So the next day he entered the busy workshop and said, "Good morning, Santa. I have bad news for you." "Then run away like a good fellow," answered Santa Claus. "Bad news is something that should be kept secret and never told." "You cannot escape this, however," declared the daemon, "for in the world there are a good many who do not believe in Santa Claus, and these you are bound to hate bitterly, since they have so wronged you." "Stuff and rubbish!" cried Santa. "And there are others who resent your making children happy, who sneer at you and call you foolish old rattle-pate. You are right to hate such base slanders, and you ought to be revenged upon them for their evil words." "But I don't hate them," exclaimed Santa Claus positively. "Such people do not do me no real harm, but merely render themselves and their children unhappy. Poor things, I'd much rather help them any day than injure them." Indeed, the daemons could not tempt old Santa Claus in any way. On the contrary, he was shrewd enough to see that their object in visiting him was to make mischief and trouble, and his cheery laughter disconcerted the evil ones and showed them the folly of such an undertaking. So they abandoned honey words and determined to use force. It was well known that no harm can come to Santa Claus while he is in the Laughing Valley, for the fairies and ryes and nooks all protect him. But on Christmas Eve, he drives his reindeer out in the big world, carrying a sleigh load of toys and pretty gifts to the children. And this was the time and the occasion when his enemies had the best chance to injure him. So the daemons laid their plans and awaited the arrival of Christmas Eve. The moon shone big and white in the sky, and the snow lay crisp and sparkling on the ground, as Santa Claus cracked his whip and sped away out of the valley into the great world beyond. The roomy sleigh was packed full with huge sacks of toys, and as the reindeer dashed onward, our jolly old Santa laughed and whistled and sang for very joy. For in all his merry life, this was the one day in the year when he was happiest, the day he lovingly bestowed the treasures of his workshop upon the little children. It would be a busy night for him, he well knew. As he whistled and shouted and cracked his whip again, he reviewed in his mind all the towns and cities and farmhouses where he was expected, and figured that he had just enough presents to go around and make every child happy. The reindeer knew exactly what was expected of them, and dashed along so swiftly that their feet scarcely seemed to touch the snow-covered ground. Suddenly, a strange thing happened. A rope shot through the moonlight, and a big noose was at the end of it settled over the arms and body of Santa Claus, and drew tight. Before he could resist or even cry out, he was jerked from the seat of the sleigh and tumbled head foremost into a snowbank, while the reindeer rushed onward with the load of toys and carried it quickly out of sight and sound. Such a surprising experience confused old Santa for a moment. When he had collected his senses, he found the wicked daemons had pulled him from the snowdrift and bound him tightly with many coils of the stout rope. And then they carried the kidnapped Santa Claus away to their mountains, where they thrust the prisoner into a secret cave and chained him to the rocky wall so that he could not escape. "Ha-ha!" laughed the demons, rubbing their hands together with cruel glee. "What will the children do now? How they will cry and scold the storm when they find there are no toys in their stockings and no gifts on their Christmas tree. And what a lot of punishment they will receive from their parents, and how they will flock to our caves of selfishness, envy, hatred, and malice. We have done a mighty clever thing, we, demons of the cave." Now, it was so chanced that on this Christmas Eve, the good Santa Claus had taken with him in his sleigh Nutter the Ryle, Peter the Knook, Kilter the Pixie, and a small fairy named Whisk, his 4 favorite assistants. Those little people he had often found very useful in helping him to distribute the gifts to the children, and when their master was so suddenly dragged from the sleigh, they were all snugly tucked underneath the seat where the sharp wind could not reach them. The tiny immortals knew nothing of the capture of Santa Claus until some time after he had disappeared, but finally they missed his cheery voice, and as their master was always sang or whistled on his journeys, the silence warned them that something was wrong. Little Whisk stuck out his head from underneath the seat and found Santa Claus was gone, and no one to direct the flight of the reindeer. "Whoa!" he cried out, and the deer obediently slackened and sped and came to a halt. Peter and Nutter and Kilter all jumped upon the seat and looked back over the track made by the sleigh, but Santa Claus had been left miles and miles behind. "What shall we do?" asked Whisk anxiously, all the mirth and mischief vanished from his wee face by all this calamity. "We must go back at once and find our master," said Nutter the Ryle, who thought and spoke with much deliberation. "No, no," exclaimed Peter the Knock, who, crossed and crabbed though he was, might have always be dependent upon in an emergency. "If we delay or go back, there will not be time to get the toys to the children before morning, and that would grieve Santa Claus more than anything else." "It is certain that some wicked creatures have captured him," added Kilter thoughtfully, "and their object must be to make children unhappy. So our first duty is to get the toys distributed as carefully as if Santa Claus were himself present. Afterward, we can search for our master and easily secure his freedom." There seemed to be good and sensible advice that the others at once resolved to adopt it. So Peter the Knock called the reindeer, and the faithful animal again sprang forward and dashed over hill and valley, through forest and plain, until they came to the houses wherein children lay sleeping and dreaming of the pretty gifts they would find on Christmas morning. The little immortals had set themselves a difficult task, for although they had assisted Santa Claus on many of his journey, their master had always directed and guided them and told them exactly what he wished them to do. But now they had to distribute the toys according to their own judgment, and they did not understand children as well as old Santa, so it was no wonder they made some laughable errors. Mammy Brown, who wanted a doll, got a drum instead, and a drum is of no use to a girl who loves dolls. And Charlie Smith, who delights to romp and play out of doors, who wanted new rubber boots to keep his feet dry, received a sewing box filled with colored worsteds and threads and needle, which made him so provoked he thoughtlessly called out our dear Santa Claus a fraud. Had there been many such mistakes, the demons would have accomplished their evil purpose and made the children unhappy. But the little friends of the absent Santa Claus labored faithfully and intelligently to carry out their master's ideas, and they made fewer errors than might be expected under such unusual circumstances. Damn those kids. They better learn new skills, exactly. And although they worked as swiftly as possible, day had begun to break before the toys and other presents were all distributed. So for the first time in many years, the reindeer trotted into the Laughing Valley on their return in broad daylight, with the brilliant sun peeping over the edge of the forest to prove they were far behind their accustomed hours. Damn those kids. Sorry, I have to take a pause right now because, you know, Charlie Smith and Mammy Brown, you ungrateful brats. What do you mean you don't want a drum? What do you mean you don't want a sewing kit? Sorry, I need to take a pause there. What do you mean you don't want these? And you dare curse Santa Claus? Come on. Some kids don't even get gifts. Ingrates. Okay, back to the story. Sorry, I had a moment where I'm mad at the kids. These kids. Where are we? Having put the deers in the stable, the little folk began to wonder how they might rescue their master, and they realized they must discover, first of all, what had happened to him and where he was. So Whisk the fairy transported himself to the bower of the Fairy Queen, which is located deep in the heart of the forest of Burzy. And once there, it did not take him long to find out all the naughty daemons and how they kidnapped the good Santa Claus to prevent his making children happy. The Fairy Queen also promised her assistance, and then, fortified by this powerful support, Whisk flew back to where Nutter, Peter, and Kilter awaited him, and the four counseled together and laid plans to rescue their master from his enemies. It is possible that Santa Claus was not as merry as usual during the night that succeeded his capture. Although he had faith in his judgment of his little friends, he could not avoid a certain amount of worry and had an anxious look would creep at times into his kind old eyes as he thought of the disappointment that might await his dear little children. And the daemons who guarded him by turns, one after another, did not neglect to taunt him with contemptuous words in his helpless condition. When Christmas Day dawned, the daemon of malice was guarding the prisoner, and his tongue was sharper than that of any others. "The children are waking up, Santa," he cried. They're waking up to find their stockings empty. Ho ho! How they will quarrel and wail and stamp their feet in anger. Our caves will be full today, old Santa. Our caves will be sure to be full. But to this, as to others like taunts, Santa Claus answered nothing. He was much grieved by his capture, it is true, but his courage did not forsake him, and finding that the prisoner would not reply to his jeers, the daemon of malice presently went away and sent the daemon of repentance to take his place. This personage was not so disagreeable as the other. He had gentle and refined features, and his voice was soft and pleasant in tone. "My brother daemons do not trust me overmuch," he said, as he entered the cavern, "but it is morning now, and the mischief is done. You cannot visit the children again for another year." "That is true," answered Santa Claus almost cheerfully. Christmas Eve is past, and for the first time in centuries I have not visited any children. "The little ones will be greatly disappointed," murmured the daemon of repentance, almost regretfully. "But they cannot be helped now. Their grief is likely to make the children selfish and envious and hateful, and if they come to the caves of the daemon today, I shall get a chance to lead some of them to my cave of repentance." "Do you never repent yourself?" asked Santa Claus curiously. Oh, yes, indeed, answered the daemon. I am even now repenting that I assisted in your capture. Of course, it is too late to remedy the evil that has been done. But repentance, you know, can only come after an evil thought or deed. For in the beginning there is nothing to repent of. So I understand, said Santa Claus. Those who avoid evil need never visit your cave. As a rule, that is true, replied the daemon. Yet you, who have done no evil, are about to visit my cave at once. For, to prove that I sincerely regret my share in your capture, I am going to permit you to escape. This speech greatly surprised the prisoner until he reflected that it was just what might be expected of the daemon of repentance. The fellow at once busied himself untying the knots that bound Santa Claus and unlocking the chains that fastened him to the wall. Then he led the way through a long tunnel until they both emerged in the Cave of Repentance. I hope you will forgive me, said the daemon pleadingly. I am not really a bad person, you know, and I believe I accomplished a great deal of good in the world. With this, he opened the back door and let in a flood of sunshine, and Santa Claus sniffed the fresh air gratefully. I bear you no malice, said he to the daemon in a gentle voice, and I am sure the world will be a dreary place without you. So good morning, and Merry Christmas to you. With those words, he stepped out to greet the bright morning, and a moment later he was trudging along, whistling softly to himself on his way to his home in the Laughing Valley. Marching over the snow toward the mountain was a vast army made of the most curious creatures imaginable. There are numberless nooks from the forest, as rough and crooked in appearance as the gnarled branches of the trees they ministered to, and there were dainty riles from the fields, each one bearing the emblem of the flower or plant it guarded. Behind these were many ranks of pixies, gnomes, and nymphs, and in the rear 1,000 beautiful fairies floated along in gorgeous array. This wonderful army was led by Whisk, Peter, Nutter, and Kilter, who had assembled it to rescue Santa Claus from captivity and to punish the daemon who had dared to take him away from his beloved children. And although they looked so bright and peaceful, the little immortals were armed with powers that could be very terrible to those who had incurred their anger. Woe to the daemon of the caves if this mighty army of vengeance ever met them. But lo, coming to meet his loyal friends, appeared the imposing form of Santa Claus, his white beard floating in the breeze, and his bright eyes sparkling with pleasure at this proof of love and veneration he had inspired in the hearts of the most powerful creatures in existence. And while they clustered around him and danced with glee at his safe return, he gave them earnest thanks for their support. But Whisk, Nutter, and Peter, and Kilter he embraced affectionately. It is useless to pursue the daemons, said Santa Claus to the army. They have their place in the world and can never be destroyed. But it is a great pity, nonetheless, he continued musingly. So the fairies, nooks, and pixies, and riles all escorted the good man to his castle, and there left him to talk over the events of the night with this little assistance. Whisk had already rendered himself invisible and flown through the big world to see how the children were getting along on this bright Christmas morning, and by the time he returned, Peter had finished telling Santa Claus of how they distributed the toys. You did very well, cried the fairy in a pleased voice, for I found little unhappiness among the children this morning. Still, you must not get captured again, my dear master, for we might not be so fortunate another time in carrying out your ideas. He then related the mistakes that he made, which he had not discovered until his tour of inspection, and Santa Claus at once sent him with rubber boots for Charlie Smith and a doll for Mammy Brown, so that even those two disappointed ones would become happy. No, Charlie Smith and Mammy Brown, they get what they deserve. They get what they deserve. Ungrateful brats. Play the drum, Mammy. Play. Start sewing, Charlie. What the heck? They don't deserve nothing. They were bad. As for the wicked demons of the cave, they were filled with anger and chagrin when they found their clever capture of Santa Claus had come to naught. Indeed, no one on that Christmas day appeared to be all that selfish or envious or hateful. And realizing while the children's saint had so many powerful friends, it was folly to oppose him. The demons never again attempted to interfere with his journeys on Christmas Eve. The end. The end. No? How was the stories? Did you like them? They were lovely, thank you. Good. Very comfy story. I really like this one because it's very simple plot, right? It was a very simple, easy to follow story. Compared to A Christmas Tree by Charles Dickens, which was quite, you know, difficult to follow. A little convoluted, but the Christmas tree was merely a narrative device to drive each little story of that this old man has in his head. L. Frank Baum was the one who wrote Wizard of Oz, wasn't he? Yes. He wrote The Wizard of Oz, and also for this upcoming member stream where we are doing a watch along, he also wrote the story called The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus, which is a wonderful animated film. I've always watched it pretty much every Christmas when I was young. You'll see these fairies, and I think you'll also see the daemons as well. Is it your favorite Christmas movie? One of my favorite Christmas movies. Probably is my favorite Christmas movie. There's also a stop motion version of The Life and Adventure of Santa Claus as well. But we're going to be watching the 2000 animated movie, which is, yeah. We're probably not going to watch the 1985 stop motion one. Although it is also very good. Cell animation? Yeah, it's cell animation. I think... yeah, it's pretty good too. I borrowed the wrong one from a friend. I did put down it was the 2000 one. I really do like all the stop motion Christmas movies. So there was the Rudolph one and Frosty the Snowman one. Those are all really good. The Misfit Toys one, yeah, that one's really good too. Classics. I really do like Christmas movies. They're so pretty and great. I think the one song where Santa Claus takes a vacation, where they sing The Year Without a Santa Claus, or it's a blue, and it sings like Blue Christmas. Yeah, The Year Without a Santa Claus. Which by the way, I thought, I was like, damn, Santa needs a break though. Girl, chill. I was like, chill, I know you're sad, but, Santa needs a break. Like, girl, don't be selfish. He gets a break 364 days of the year. No, he spends the rest of the year making toys. Do you not know Santa lore? He spends all the rest of the year making toys, and he only has the one day. He works year-round. All year long. He doesn't make the toys, his elves do. Well, he supervises, okay? It's still a job, okay? The manager is still a job. He also doesn't get a day off. The elves don't even get a day off. Come on. Anyway, Santa made them first, and then because there were so many children that wanted toys, the elves are trained to make them too. Santa has a sweatshop? No, it's a charity. Do the elves have a union? I think they do. Then why do my toys say made in China? It's because Santa doesn't love you. Your best roast yet. I'm fine. I'm fine. That was instant. Listen, we don't badmouth Santa here, okay? Santa is a great person. Okay? Santa is a great person. No Santa slander. You're asking if Cole is okay, and don't ask about me. You're already dead, okay? You aren't the important one here, okay? I thought Mercy loved her senpais. I do. That's why I roast them. That's why I roast them so tenderly. Anyways, I will not have any Santa slander. I love Santa Claus. Okay? He's very jolly. Very nice guy. You know? What do you have to say about the Santa deniers? Clearly, they haven't been on the good list. If no Santa, why address for North Pole? If no Santa, why is there a Santa tracker, huh? Checkmate. Santa deniers. Yeah, if no Santa, why is there an emoji of Santa, huh? He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows when you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake. Wait, isn't that just you? No? Yes, the hat. The hat means nothing, okay? You're not a BS artist, are you? Somebody's been watching the Greasy Strangler. You got me. I'm a smoothie. I lost my TV rights over that Kohai. I already... Did you not look at the ratings? And I also already told you guys it's like very inappropriate and you will see a lot of Like, did you not check the rating? I already told you guys it's not like an appropriate movie. Anyway, this is my favorite because it's so funny. Not a Christmas movie, by the way. Not a Christmas movie. It's so funny. That's why you watched it? No, it's because it's hilarious. I watched it and it was the best movie. And I was like, I laughed for a week straight. A week straight after watching that. I watched it for a week straight. And I laughed so hard. And I thought it was so funny. And I reference it every now and then. Hootie tootie disco cutie. Is that what you watched before your video where you laughed for 10 plus minutes? That one I just channeled that I was a crazy person and just laughed at nothing. Channel, shut up. I just raw dogged that one exactly. Anyways, Christmas movies. I would love to watch a lot of Christmas movies with everyone, to be honest. But, Christmas. In just 2 weeks away. That's not gonna be possible. It's so close already, so you're gonna get me a gift, right? Can you guys believe it? It is 2 weeks away. Somebody's gonna get a drum set, and I'm gonna have fun with that drum set. Okay, I'm not gonna be Charlie Smith, who is an ungrateful c***. I am like a little sad though. Cause if you didn't know, I'm Canadian, and the postal strike is going on right now. So all the stuff I bought for Black Friday still haven't come in yet. And it's because like UPS has to do like a huge service outage because they are too backed up. And all shipping companies have decided to do a shipping pause. They're backed up now. Want to sign my petition? I'll be honest with you. I'll be real honest with you. I kind of want them to get better wages because I know my friends who like worked in like mail and they don't really have a good job. But I also want them to also get back to work at the same time because I want my mail. I'm like torn. Dare I say mail for stuff. Guess that means it's an effective strike. It is. Yeah, mail on stream. But yeah, it's like I want them to have better wages and like a better deal. But I also want my money's worth, and I want my package. And I want my mail. And I want my bills. Do you know how difficult it was to try to pay your bills? That was harsh, okay? You know, I had to scramble because my parents, like, they're the classic pay bills by mail because they don't trust the internet. How long has it been going for again? 5 weeks now. I believe it's 5 weeks. Like, I want better working conditions for the workers, but I also want my mail. And I know there's a lot of people who have very important mail, like medical stuff that they need to get to them, which is why I want them to get back to work. Does that make sense? I'm torn. That's why I'm torn. That's why I can't, like, sign a petition or anything. I can't sign a petition or anything because I feel it. I feel it. But I'm also selfish. You know? I'm also selfish, but I'm also, like, thinking about other people too, because there are people who are like, you know, I haven't gotten my grandpa's ashes, and people were like, I have like a replacement hip that I need to come in, and another person who's like, I had to cancel my wedding because didn't get my wedding dress, you know, those kinds of things. That's what. And there are like people in rural areas who are like, I haven't gotten any of my like food or like medicine, you know? Who ships ashes by mail? Well, if they're overseas or something, right? Like if your dad passes away in Australia, you might have to ship the ashes by mail, you know? Anyways, that's what I would say. Your grandparents didn't come to Canada? My grandparents died before I was born. I don't have grandparents. Are any headways being made that you know of? For the post stuff? No. It doesn't look like they've come to an agreement. Last time I checked. And I want my package. I want it. It gives me anxiety if I don't have my package. You know what I'm saying? I'm very selfish, but at the same time, I want them to have a good one. I understand. I understand the union fighting back. Because my mom, she used to work at a factory with a union, and they would, and oh boy, did the company try to her over so many times. You know? And it was the union that kept on coming in and being like, hey, you can't do that. That's against the law. Which is why I like unions, because they've been very kind. They've been very kind, and without them, I wouldn't, when I was younger, I wouldn't have had, like, dental. I wouldn't have had, like, healthcare. And I was a very sick child. I'm a still sick adult, but you know. Sometimes they can screw people over too. Honestly, it's like a give and take. I would rather a union though. Also, there's no union in VAllure, although I think I would unionize my fists if anything did happen in VAllure. I think I have yelled at management far too many times. And I have fought and sometimes berated management more than they deserve. And I have called management stinky poo-poo pants before. No, but VAllure is really good. But honestly, VAllure is very good. I get a lot of support, more than I expected. And I honestly think that our company is really good. There's some frustration, but that's also because it's a new company. Management's good though. They are actually pretty good. They are pretty good. I honestly like it. I honestly like it here. I forgot how we got on this topic. Oh, right. I want my Christmas presents. I want my Christmas presents. And we have no Santa slander in this household. It's like, how do we talk about unions? Do you think the elves in Santa's workshop will unionize? I think they do. Rudolph was a union buster. Stop it. I mean, the reindeers are whipped, so I feel like maybe the reindeers should unionize too. Maybe they're into that. All 9 of them? There's 9 reindeers, right? Shh, shut up. There's 9 reindeers, right? Donner, listen. Yes. Including Rudolph, there's 9, right. Hold on, I'm gonna Google. How many reindeers does Santa have? 9 reindeers. See, I still have the Santa lore down. Do you guys remember? Okay, this is totally a segue, but do you guys remember when Pokemon at first they didn't have Stantlers, and so they had Ponytas do pull the reindeer, pull like the sleigh? I remember that they specifically changed it, and I was like, what happened to the lore? I got personally angry about it. For no good reason. I got, like, personally offended. I'm shocked Kohai remembers, given how old that era of Pokemon is. Shut up. I'm a hag. You already know this. You already know this. How many times do I have to say it? At this point, we'll start calling you senpai. Call me senpai and I'll shoot you where you stand. At least you're not older than Icy. I'll give you a hint. I am very close to Icy's age, but not by much. I am the second oldest. Also, Santa had an army of Jinx as his helpers, yes. And then they were replaced by Delibirds, I think. Really? Why are you acting like you're surprised? Suddenly I'm not feeling very... Suddenly I'm feeling very, like, you know, offended for no reason. Mercy's very mature. You know what? We are forever 19, except for the places that don't let you to drink until a certain age. In that case, we're 21. We are forever 19, unless at least the required age to do adult things, pretty much. Still young by my standards. I feel like I kind of draw in the older crowd. My prediction was that, like, most of everyone that watches me is between the ages of 25 to 40. And anyone younger is the odd one out. I'm forever a young adult, okay? Girl, I'm 21. What? Don't you have stats for on your YouTube for ages? We don't look at the YouTube stats. I pretend it doesn't exist. Because if it does, like 5% of the people who watch me are apparently between the ages of 6 and like 1 and 12, because that would be weird, okay? So I know people lie, and then there's like another 1% of people who are between the ages of 80 to 90. So no, people fake their age a lot, yeah. And I don't want to check the senpai stats, yeah. It's really easy to fake your age on here. I am not gonna lie to you. I think that the YouTube stats, hold on, if I can even check them out, are not accurate, I don't think. How do I analytics? There we go. Check audience. Oh, I'm too scared to look. I'm gonna look. Ah, it hurt. Oh, it hurts. Ugh, it hurts so badly. Thank you, SSC Saw, for the raid. Thank you. Sorry. I am, like, going off topic. I'm going off topic. Okay. We are far from story time. We're far from story time, yes. Okay, let's see. Here it says 1.4% female and 98.5% male. Ah, that's so painful. Ah, that's so painful. Um, 50% demographic, age 25 to 34. I think I was pretty right. Listen, when I first started, I was 15% female demographic. I was really happy. And then it got real small. It was great at the beginning. Okay. And 38%. 38% people between the ages of 18 to 24. 0.1% 55 to 64 years of age. 0.9% of 45 to 54 years of age. And 0.3% ages 13 to 17. I need that to be 0. What happened to the 15%? Management says that my female demographic is probably still there. It's just I got bigger, and so the number went down. It's probably still the same, but it's just as you get more fans and get higher numbers, right? It goes down. It says here my top geographies is the United States, followed by Canada, followed by the UK, Germany, and then the Philippines. Why do I have such a big percentage of German viewers? Followed by Mexico, Australia, Brazil. It's the eye patch. It's the eye patch that attracts the Germans. Followed by, after the Philippines, it's followed by Mexico, Australia, Brazil, Indonesia, Netherlands, and then Vietnam. And then Chile, Sweden, Malaysia, Argentina, Colombia, Finland, Poland, Russia, Guatemala, Spain, Japan, Italy, Pakistan, New Zealand again? Okay. Peru, Thailand, Romania, France, Egypt, United Arab Emirates, India, Jamaica, Denmark, Lithuania, Costa Rica, Ireland, Kazakhstan, Israel, and Malta. So it's a pretty wide range of people watching. I'm surprised that Germany is like Top 5. I'll be honest. I'll be honest, I'm kind of surprised Germany's like top 5. Germany has a really big VTuber culture. It's so interesting. That still only makes like 1% though. I'm happy to have so many people. And all the channels your audience watches is all of VAllure. That's good. How many Europeans in your past life? Like 0. Wait, no, that's wrong. I surprisingly attracted a lot of French people. My past life was mostly French, Japanese, and of course the United States. So that, though, let's see, United States was like top, then Canada, and then France, Japan, and then Vietnam, I think. We lost a lot of French and JP bros, yeah. Yeah, I lost the French and Japanese bros. It's okay. How much is from Vietnam? According to these stats, not much. Let's see, Vietnam's like pretty 0.2% Vietnam. Was that the first time you spoke in Vietnamese on stream? No, I spoke Vietnamese on my debut. I think I have, for Japan, I have less than that. That's 0.1%. Where's my JP bros? I used to have like, I think it was 15% in my past life, JP bros. That sucks. But that was my past life. Now I am here with you. Hee hee. JP Snip is local. It's okay. We'll eventually get new people in all the time, and then we'll have a big giant basement. A big giant basement, and then I can read more stories to everyone. We're gonna have a big comfy basement. Already so many people down here, but there could be more. Scoot over. There can be more people. That's called a dungeon. And? At this rate, everyone's gonna get 2 boxes of chicken nuggies to share. I'm allergic to gluten. We'll give you naked chicken nuggies. We'll just give you chickies and no nuggies. Well, can people who are allergic to gluten eat a rotisserie chicken? I'll drop in like a rotisserie chicken and a box of chicken nuggets. How about that? And if we get to 100K people, it would be... we will get like the Costco size bag of chicken nuggies, yeah? Wow, that sounds fancy compared to nuggets. It's cheaper though. What's the percentage for UK? UK is the third biggest. Let me check again. The industrial nuggies. Let me check again. UK is 3.7%. Congratulations, that's pretty high. bit high, isn't it? A little over 600 UK snippets. That's pretty cool, I think. I think that's pretty cool to have such an international audience. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in, even though... Okay, hold on. Let me think about, like, what do I like about the UK? I like your chocolate. I like your Cadbury chocolate. And... I like your jams. And I like your tea. I think your marmalades are pretty good too. I also like the British Film Institute films. Fish and chips. I like fish and chips too. But it has to depend on the fish and chips. I don't know what else I like from the UK. I like your accent. I like the way you say bottle water. I like Ghost Watch. Yeah. Now, what do I like from the Germans? I like Lebkuchen. I love pretzels. Actually, do I like pretzels? It really depends. I tried an authentic German pretzel, and apparently I had to eat it with, like, a mustard. It was like mustard or something, because it was very, very salty. What about Innis? What about Innis? What about us poor, underrepresented Americans? I like Target, and I like Trader Joe's. And I like Costco. Isn't Target closed up in Canada? There's a reason why I would go to America for Costco, okay? Not Costco, Target, sorry. I like your carny food. I think they're disgustingly, you know, blood like curdling. I don't actually know. I like your movies sometimes. um In-N-Out wasn't good, so I didn't like your fast food. I also didn't like your chicken nuggets. Oh, I know. I like your Texas size things. That's very interesting. I do like your like really, I like carny food, like your mixes of like different dishes. Like I saw the burger pizza. Like the burger pizza, that looked interesting. What else do I like about America? You know, there's one thing about America that I am very envious of. Like, the number one thing I'm super envious of. And that is, how do you always get free shipping? Like, for every place, ever? Like, it's always US free shipping, US free shipping, free shipping, free shipping. And I just get really jealous about that. Living in Hawaii, don't get it. I know, that sucks. How bad is the shipping up there? Let's just say it's pretty bad. For what you get for free shipping, I have to pay like $20 plus. What else do I like? I like your amusement parks. I think those are cool. I don't really live near amusement parks here. Yeah, pretty much I like your carny food. just like, what's the most American thing I like? The carny food. The like absolutely weirdest mishmash of like anything that might make my like fat actually become gelatinous. to Vietnam. What do I like about Vietnam? Food. Everything's food. I love the sugarcane drinks. Those things are really yummy. And I can just walk down the road and it's right there. I like how cheap things are. And how I can just like walk around with like a few coins in my pocket and I can get a tasty snack. So you're a foodie tourist. Not always, because I have my big allergy. I like sitting in like the dingiest plastic chairs you can get in Vietnam. With the low tables that I think are meant for kids. And I can have the most delicious meal I've ever had in my life there. My favorite thing to eat is in Vietnam is bánh xèo and bún bò ấy. Oh, and chè. I like eating chè. Chè is yummy. And refreshing. Chè? How do I explain what chè is? Think of it like jelly and milk, I guess? Like sago? Like it's a sweet soup with like jelly and stuff. It's served cool. Yeah. It's served cool. I like the chuối, which is the banana one. That one's pretty good. Some are hot and some are cold. I think the chuối one can be hot sometimes. How do you spell the banana one? CHUOI. Do you know the device statistics? No, I don't think I have the device statistic. Like, if people watch on like on like phone or something. I don't know where that is, and I don't see it. It's very hidden, yeah. I don't know where it is then. You say Z? Sometimes. I mostly say Z. When I watch everyone, I put you guys, I cast it to my TV in my bedroom. And I also watch it on my phone as well. It's buried under 10 like 5 drop-down menus. I'm okay. Okay, I put you on speaker. You put me on speaker. About cannibalism. So would you guys like to eat the leg or the arm first? I bet right now. Wait, hold on. Hey, Alexa. Hey, Alexa, what's the weather like right now? What was that transition? Somebody said they had me on speaker. Somebody said that they have me on speaker. Surprised you didn't do more damage? Look, okay, listen here. I don't want my stream to be taken down. Hey Google, set volume to 500% and play Despacito. You can't tell me that you have me on speaker because I will do evil things. Hey Google, call mom. Okay, I have to go to advanced mode. And then what I go to? More drop down menu. And then find device type. Oh, I see it. It's not showing me. Oh, there we go. Seriously? Like, 56% of you listen to me on mobile phones? Really? Is anyone on the smart fridge? No, it looks like it's just mobile phone, 32% computer, 6% TV, and 5% on tablet. That's about it. You said Vietnam is cheap, but average locals say it's pretty luxurious to have something like a $5 snack just for a day just for a snack. I'm not buying $5 worth of snacks. I think the snacks I buy are pretty cheap. What about console bros? It literally has only these as a statistics. I mean, in total. I don't actually eat that much snacks. I don't think. Console probably got lumped with TV. Probably. They only gave me mobile phone, computer, TV, tablet. I don't think anyone is watching me on their Switch. If anything, your Switch is going to have Pornhub instead. You can't prove that. Please don't tell my parents. Don't worry, I won't tell your parents. Someone born in 87. Do you guys see this? I think it was the Xbox and Sony Sony statistics on like, or was it Pornhub statistic on like the devices that people access the most on? And it was like PSP that people access like, oh, I forgot to censor myself. Oops. Anyways, let's pretend that didn't happen. I thought it was built in. No, I do it like physically, so I just gotta go. I have a button, and I push the button. I push the button. I'm in Texas, so no hub here. What the heck happened to Texas? What the heck happened to Texas? Everyone's like, I can't watch porn, and I'm like, what? Censorship happened. You guys are gonna just take that? You guys are just gonna take it and I get mad when, like, my credit card tells me what I can or can't buy. Like, I wanna buy, like, you know, eroge. Right? And then my credit card's like, you can't buy that. And I'm like, why not? It's my money. Oh, mercy, you innocent soul. Listen, I feel like it's my money and I do what I want as long as it's not illegal. As long as it's not illegal, I do what I want with the money I have. And that's usually saving it or spending it irresponsibly. Actually, most of my money goes to bills. It's so true. Like, if I want to buy 87 watermelons like a math problem, that's my business. Who is Bill and why is he taking your money? I pay so much, guys, for like internet. And I pay so much for internet. And then I have to pay for utilities as well. And then I have to pay for insurance for my cars. For the cars, plural. And then I have to pay insurance for the house. And then I have to pay the property tax. Ah! Sorry, I'm having a moment here. I have to pay the phone bill. Then I have to pay the like home services. Thank you, Salve, for the 10. Use this for a nice snack. Thank you. I'm still sad, okay? I think about it all the time. Why is it most of it all you? Because my parents don't work. They're retired, and I want them to work, to be comfortable in their retirement. Like, that is actually the reason why. That is like the reason why I pay for everything. My parents have paid for me for a long, long time. And it's my turn to like finally pay for them. I'm very lucky that I don't have student loans because I paid that all off just by grants and bursaries and scholarships already. So that's one thing I'm less worried about. But I definitely try my best to, like, make sure my parents are taken care of. Must be nice. You can do it too. I actually remember applying for something I totally did not. I did not qualify for, and they gave it to me because nobody signed up for it. I remember there was a scholarship for specifically students in mathematics. I applied for it anyways. I was not in mathematics. And I got it anyways. I was like, really? They're like, yep, here you go. Like, just do it. Just apply for all of them. I think I got like $2,000 from that. Mm. Like, the money has to go somewhere, and if no mathematics students applied for it, well, I'm taking it. I never got a response from the ton I sent out. Keep trying, you'll get it. I remember I also got one for engineering. I wasn't an engineer. It all went to, like, my schooling, though. It all went to my schooling, so... Oh, I've been graduated forever ago. Never mind then. Never mind then. I was a very good student. Okay, I admit I was a very good student, so therefore when I got... It wasn't really that surprising that I got a lot of the like, scholarships and bursaries and stuff. Casually snitching on yourself. They know, though! I'm not snitching. I'm not snitching. They knew I wasn't a engineering student. They knew I wasn't a mathematics student. They knew that. I wrote that down. I even wrote, hey, I know I'm not this student, but I am... Introduce myself, why I deserve it, how it can help me and benefit me. That's like literally how you do it, okay? You go, this is what I'm gonna do. This is how it's gonna change my life. This is how much this would mean to me. Blah, 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 blah. And this is what I do in my extracurricular as well. Okay, carry on with your hustling. I'm literally being so for real right now. When I say that, like, just apply. You might not get it, but hey, you applied, whatever, right? I would, if I had, like, free time, I would spend, like, there was, like, a page at the university that had every listing for all the grants, all the scholarships, all the bursaries. I even got one grant. I didn't even know this existed, but I just got it anyways because the professor liked me. And apparently the professor always gives out like 5 grants like every year, totaling, I don't remember how much it was, never mind. I don't remember how much it was. But I just happened to be in this professor's class, and apparently I was just really really interesting, I guess, that I was just given it. And I was like, thank you! I wrote... The important thing is writing a thank you letter as well to, like, people who gave you the money as well. You write the thank you letter. Say thank you so much. This helped out quite a bit. Blah, 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 blah. You write a thank you letter as well. I think for my thank you letter, I wrote, thank you so much for this. I really enjoyed your class. It was very interesting and I learned a lot. I really liked the way the lesson, blah, blah, blah. And I hope to have a class with you again soon. Or you just say something like, I've learned so much in this course, blah, 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 blah. I really did though. I really like that course. So many blah blah blahs. Don't actually write blah blah blah, Miwa. Don't actually write blah blah blah. But just apply. Just apply and write how thankful you are. And honestly, if I didn't get that money at that time, I probably would have cried a little. I was just lucky at that time, though. I was really actually just lucky at the time because it was a course I was very, very interested in. And I feel like I just excelled at that course because I just had like a great vested interest in it. So I feel very thankful that I got that grant just all willy-nilly. Thank you for the hydrate reminder. Don't remember that in the story. What do you mean don't remember what in the story? I remember to hydrate. I'm giving you guys good advice in the end of the story time, which I have yapped for like I think over an hour after stories have ended. But shoot your shot. If you're still in school, shoot your shot. Shoot your shot. You'll probably be pleasantly surprised about like what you can accomplish in school. And also take advantage of like a lot of things in your school, like free gym membership or you get free therapy. Please take advantage of all of that too. Free therapy is Mercy's free. Miwa! I love you. But yeah, I feel like you should all take advantage if you're still in school to take advantage of it. I love what I really like to do was basically get like help. Free therapy. Schools offer that. Some schools do. My school did. My school offered free therapy, and you also had your very own student health insurance as well. So everything was pretty cheap. I think I got my meds for like pretty cheap. Or sometimes even free. Take advantage of your student discounts. There's a lot of services that have a lot of free stuff. American Snippets can't comprehend free therapy, school, or health insurance. Oops. take advantage of the your student discount pub and student night where you get a free beer. You think we got those? You have to have something. You're American. I exploited the hell out of my university. I got like free food, free sometimes free concerts. We get free shipping, that's pretty much it. Free food, yeah, sometimes they would do like student run events and you'd get free food if you were a student. Free concerts? Yeah, student concerts. Oh. I think my university was just kind of blessed. Thought you didn't like music. I didn't go. I didn't go. But there were. I did go to like some of the plays though. Sometimes it's like a student discount, so you pay like $5 to watch the school play, and then that was nice. Sometimes it's not like actually free. Sometimes it's just a discount, or sometimes it's just like it's tacked on to your tuition too. But it feels like it's free. Thank you, Just Noel. Don't forget the 6 Supa. Don't forget free ducks you can just take at parks. It's like some student events, you know? Sometimes you can get like free pizza and stuff at student events. But also leave the ducks alone. I wouldn't recommend that. Especially here because there's Canadian geese. Evil. Evil little guys. Anyways, that's it for today. I'm gonna go to bed. I'm gonna go to bed, take a shower in the morning, and I'll see you all again next time. Yeah. No. I'm glad Mima will miss me, and I bet everyone else will miss me too. Teehee. Does VAllure have any benefits? 80-20 split. 80-20 split. My shorts get paid for. I get a song paid for. Scripts and editing done for me. There's a lot. There's a lot. I also get like, you know, merch. Anyways, that's like the benefits of like VAllure. Anyway, thanks everyone for joining me today, and I'll see you guys again next time. Bye-bye, 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 bye-bye. Pray for mercy!